link again?
Somehow I think so, because I used the one in the email that Mari just responded to. Let me have a sec. I got to turn off a sound.
Go ahead.
Off here.
Hey, Radar, sorry, tardy. You can take it out of my pay. Hey, all, sorry we're late. Technical difficulties. You can take it out of my my salary.
That's funny. Yeah, so I have a feeling Josh is going to show up because he was texting me or messaging on Facebook or something. So let's see if he gets in here and then.
Yeah. So what's in the news?
Well, I saw that you were looking at ChatGPT and mental health.
I've been looking at that every week for like a year.
Yeah. Hold on. I gotta. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I get good vibes from people. Like I haven't used it for that purpose, but I have a couple friends who they use it as that, but also like a coach. Like I'm having a conflict with my friend or my girlfriend or my boss.
Counselor.
I think there's room for it. There's a couple caveats, which are there's at least one study. It said that the more you talk to ChatGPT, the more you view others as less human. Very interestingly. And I've even had people tell me, man, I wish I could have one friend that treats me as nice as ChatGPT does. I mean, I've literally, and it's true because it's never going to be mean to you. And it's usually going to say, even if you're wrong or something, it's going to say, that was an interesting perspective, so.
Well, it depends on how you set it up, right?
Yeah.
Like on Grok, you can get real snarky.
Yeah, I guess if you instruct it to be mean, I don't know how many people are going to do that I don't know if that'll help their mental health. Maybe it would, who knows? And they specifically said that if you're OCD, that the way that it validates you is very bad for that condition, because there's no amount of reassurance that can get somebody out of looping thoughts if they have OCD. They're seeking total certainty. And so what they said is, I saw this again this week, is that if you have OCD and you need therapy, you need to be doing what's called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. But maybe there's a bot out there that does that, or you can find one, So I think overall it'll probably be good, at least for mental health. We'll see.
Well, if you can bounce some ideas, it's great for thought experiments, confidence.
Yeah, I reached a point in life where I don't always think that every problem has a solution, but
why not?
I think that because the world's not perfect yet, kind of, I know you're joking, but you can probably get a little closer. But that's the thing, is that's what the OCD person is. It's like sometimes you have to learn how to deal with a problem that you can't fix in life, I guess. Yeah, Radar, we thought he was he messaged me, so maybe he'll get the message that we had to change the link or whatever. So hopefully Josh will be on.
We call this an ID10T error. Have you ever heard that before, Anthony?
ID10T error? Is that StreamYard or what is that?
No, write it on a piece of paper. The letter D as in dog, 10, capital T.
Or something? I don't have a note open.
Maybe our users can figure it out.
Yeah. What are you trying to say with that? You're talking about the technical errors. Yeah, you're funny.
Yeah, ID10T error. Yeah, I'm funny.
ID10T. No, man, you do a lot, and so we get it.
I do a lot.
You're a highly paid professional. And,
highly paid.
Speaking of, where is has Jay been available for podcasts recently?
He's doing the Thursday show. He's if he gets a cancellation, he'll pop over. But
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I give him the transcript of this show, and then hey, we missed these questions, and then we answer it the next day.
Yeah, hopefully he won't
So Radar, if you got something hot.
What Radar say? Does he have a question?
Of course he's got a question. I feel bad. We left him in the lobby.
Yeah. So yeah, Josh just responded to me again 2 minutes ago, so I think probably he's wrapping up his work or anything.
Yeah.
Radar, feel free to tell us what you've been working on. Let's see, Jahan's already got something. Yeah, it's even harder when you have neurofeedback software glitches.
Oh boy.
Are some programs better or worse, or do you want to stay off brands? I just don't have enough experience with different brands to say anything, Jahan. So Josh, I'm sure has used. I think Josh said he's purchased about everything at this point. So yeah,
simple. Oxum's razor, the simplest solution, whatever it is.
I will say, was it Josh or was it? I think both Josh and Andrew Hill have said now that they like to do the simplest protocol possible. I think Josh was saying that simple is better, and he thinks people even respond better. So I think some of the fancier technical solutions we have, and I don't know exactly which software Jahan's mentioning, but like for instance, on the whole AI thing, do we need AI to diagnose and stuff like that? I mean, I've seen people make extreme progress just using the maps. No raw EEG involved. Now, I think the raw EEG keeps you out of trouble, but I don't think what we need is more technology. I mean, it'll be great and we should use it. I don't want to sound otherwise. AI is cool. But I don't know if the technology is the issue. I think it's I think it might be the users and the different philosophies. You know, we got some people saying, "Oh, you're sick. We need to raise your alpha," and we got people, usually, somebody more in Jay's camp saying, "Oh, well, we have to get rid of that frontal alpha. What are you doing?
We have to lower your alpha."
Yeah, so there's no agreement in the industry. I think the problem is more the people. Maybe you could say it's the research could be a problem because we don't have an objective. Well, it's not as objective as you'd like it, let's say.
Well, how many years were we selling neurofeedback on the fact, hey, play video games with your brain? Now we don't do that.
We don't do that anymore or something you're saying?
We don't do that anymore.
Did it work, you think, or did you think that was better?
That's why I'm doing a podcast and I don't have a clinic anymore.
Yeah.
So I know it doesn't work.
There was an FDA-approved brain training game for ADHD. It's called it's going to be called like OnMat or Encore or something as a sound. I think it starts with an E. And I think Jay knows about it. I think it does apparently help people. Maybe that's a method for us to go someday.
Well,
yeah.
Encore is great out of Vegas. Great.
Is that a band or
it's a nice property.
It's a hotel. Okay.
That's where I get my neurofeedback.
Casino. That's your feedback. Yeah, Radar says, I think sometimes the protocol that works isn't always indicated by the EEG. And yeah, I agree. You know what, Radar, though, I was thinking about today is, some of these studies are done. Well, I raised people's alpha and they said they felt better. And it's like, I don't know if I trust that because this is a crude example. This isn't perfect. Okay. But I've asked multiple friends, hey, how's your sleep? And they go, oh yeah, my sleep's great. And then they measure their sleep and they go, I figured out you were right. I only get like 6 hours of sleep. I thought I'd get 8. And what I've done is I now have blackout curtains or I wear earplugs for my husband snoring and I feel so much better. So what I'm saying to your Radar is there's a balance to this. Okay. I'm not trying to insult anyone, but if somebody tells me they feel great, I don't even know if I trust them. I don't know how else to say it, or at least how many different aspects or precisely how great do they feel. I don't necessarily trust that. I trust the measurement. I wonder if this is part of why Radar, Jay says when he consults, he doesn't even want to talk to the person. He just looks at the EEG. And I think Andrew Hill said the same thing. He's like, I don't even care what they're telling me. Because there's another reason for that, which is they might go in with preconceived notions and stuff. But let's see, Radar's responding here. He says, I get what you're saying. That's not true of everyone. It's true. People have a wide range of their self-awareness. The scientific term now is called interoception. Andrew Huberman, if you ever listen, he's a big mental health podcaster out of Stanford. He talks about people have there's standardized measurements of this, but some people have no clue what's going on with them, and some people have. I'll give you one. Placebo effects, radar, apparently, at least one study found they're less likely in people with PTSD and with certain other mental health. What that tells me is, but they're very strong in people with depression. And so that makes me wonder, do people with PTSD maybe have a little bit better awareness of what's going on internally with them? So yeah, Radar says he's above average on his insight because he's tried Yeah, so Radar's had a lot of trial and error. That's awesome. Not knowing how you feel is a sign that a person is in good health. Radar, let me comment on that, and then we'll do Jehan's question. So the research says, Radar, so not knowing how you feel, the scientific term is called alexithymia. And if you Google, you can Google that. And alexithymia is actually associated with depression. And I actually just read something last night in Psychology Today. And Jehan, I'll get to you in one sec. It said, Psychology Today said that having vague feelings was associated with worse health and well-being, self-reported well-being. So I'm not going to say that's always wrong, but I'm seeing a lot of stuff that tells me opposite, Radar. So here we go. Oh, and by the way, labeling your feelings apparently reduces anxiety. So the tip out there. All right. So for Jehan's question, and this is hopefully Josh will come because these are good for him. Are there any modalities that you have seen that support neurofeedback, such as cranial electric stimulation, that's called CES, TDCS, etc.? I'll be honest, Jehan, I have not had good experiences with those two technologies that you mentioned. I found that they actually, some things got better and actually probably sleep got a little worse in the people I've known that have done those. And they were doing it as directed by people like Jay and others. I'm going to say vaguely, and maybe Josh, this is a good one for Josh, is anything that helps your sleep probably helps neurofeedback. And then, basically every study on a drug ever done, they're always throwing, not always, but they're usually throwing in CBT or a form of talk therapy. So, hey, and I just saw Josh, this is something he posted a few minutes ago, so I'm sure he's unavailable, but he said talk therapy might help people in their neurofeedback process. So now we go back to Radar, and feel free to respond. He says, I don't mean alexithymia. I mean not having particularly good insight into how supplements or neurofeedback feel. Yeah, Radar, I'm not, if you don't mean, you said you said not knowing how you feel. So that is sort of the terminology for not knowing how you feel in psychology circles is alexithymia. And I'll tell you there are people I know that don't feel neurofeedback, and they can take neurofeedback, they can do neurofeedback, or they can do a supplement, and they behave completely differently. But if you ask them, or if the clinician asks, hey, how are you feeling? They'll say no change, but their relatives will say, oh, it's 100% difference. Okay. And I'll tell you that one thing is they say that other people know us better than we know ourselves. That was an actual study finding one time. Okay. But the other thing I'll tell you is the individuals that I know that don't know how they're feeling, they tend to lack, they tend to lack like deep, dark depression. I agree. I see that. And that could feel like it's healthy. But those same individuals, Radar, and I think you'll find this is correlated in the research, they also lack a little bit of joy. So you go to dinner and that friend that's the even friend, you ask them, well, how was dinner? And they'll say it was okay. And then you ask them, how was the movie? And they'll say it was okay. And everybody else will be raving. And so that's there are studies to back it up, but those are my anecdotal impressions as well. Jehan follows up here. He says, or she, I don't know, sorry, or they, I have had bad experiences telling people they have alexithymia. Is there a gentler way to say that? Yeah, that's a hard one, Jehan. I've never had there's only more and less offensive ways to say that. Could it be that you're behaving differently, but you haven't observed it, or have others observed you behaving differently? Are others reacting to you differently? Could be questions for a patient, Jehan. But I got a good example for you, and this is an extreme. This is from Nick. It's an extreme, but it's from Nick Dogris, who's a big practitioner. Jahan, he spoke at Jay's conference last month, and he gave a session at ISNR conference. I believe it was on dementia, and again, some might argue that's extreme, but he had a patient that had moderate dementia, and through a variety of interventions, he was able to get this person to no longer test as having dementia. It was pretty extreme, and their doctor signed off on it. Okay. And they did a lot of stuff. So it's everything. It was the smorgasbord. But that person came in one day with their loved one, and they said, "Oh, I don't think I need neurofeedback anymore. And I don't think it's working." Is what they said. And their loved one said, "There's no way in hell you're stopping neurofeedback. You're doing neurofeedback." So, and I guess that's also partly directed to radar. And it was not, by the way, they said it wasn't working. It was not directed to they got better. So that's my story on that. But yeah, Jahan, throwing in those qualifiers when you speak to people is I might be wrong. You may disagree, or let me know. You may feel differently. Those are the only things that have helped when I have those tough conversations with anyone. Tori has a question here.
It's an Andrew Hill question.
What's up?
It's an Andrew Hill, Dr. Hill question.
He's asked this before. Is neurofeedback? Oh yeah, because he does a lot of outpatient. I think so Tori, there are practitioners like Dr. Hill and others who do a lot of work with people in the home through basically loaning out of the equipment or agreements that they do. Something Josh said the other day, I don't think he meant precisely this, or it was Jay. Anyway, have you ever done physical therapy at home versus physical therapy in the office? I think that I've seen people get lucky when they do it at home, like you just Google a YouTube on it. But the more reliable result seems to come from doing it with a practitioner. So that is what I'll say. That if you want to ensure the outcome, nothing beats a practitioner who's knowledgeable. We're trying to put together right now a list of people who are sort of versed in Jay's methods and the phenotypes, which are sort of not personality, they're common EEG patterns. Jay calls them phenotypes. But if you can get to somebody like that, that is who I would recommend. That is going to be, I think, the most reliable, holistic result, where sort of everything starts to get better, or lots of things in that patient's life get better.
A lot of artifacts.
Yeah. Do you mean like, what's that?
At home, I've heard that.
Oh yeah,
having Dr. Hill, getting a good signal, keeping the artifacts out of it from the 60 hertz and all that.
You sound right. Yeah, like somebody like Jay or Hill or Josh or Mari, they're gonna know, Tori. Sometimes when you do an EEG and you don't do it properly, you pick up all this data that's not real, and that's called artifact, and that can really skew what the system recommends or what the practitioner recommends. And you kind of, some of those are a little bit obvious. Like the other day, a clinician was telling us that their database system often will tell them that people lack theta in their temples and delta. It's two different clinicians, actually. And Josh's first reaction was, that's artifact. And I will see, so there's certain things that just whenever you see them, it's always artifact. And you kind of have to know this stuff to know that. But it's never bad to try to pick up things as you go and listen and write things down, Tori. So yeah.
I forgot the brand that he uses. He's a big fan of it. I know 80% of his business is remote, and I don't remember it. I'm trying to
believe he likes Eager, and he learned on Eager. Yeah. And it's cool because Eager's located in my town. The Eager headquarters is here in Gainesville. And before I even knew what neurofeedback was, I met somebody who worked there. But he also likes the Brainmaster systems. He says the Brainmaster kind of, I think he says it gives you the most knobs you can turn, sort of. And I know Alex Sanchez, who's a clinician that's been in Jay's consultations a lot, just consultation groups, learned a lot from there. He likes Brainmaster as well. Radar has a question here. How do you do NFB and why haven't you become a clinician yet? Yeah, that's a good question. So I am trying to solve the mystery of side effects. I am a person who I get side effects now. They're tolerable. They're things like disrupted sleep temporarily and some irritability, which I think comes from the disrupted sleep. But I am, and I'm also finding that disrupted sleep, it happens to more people than maybe are aware of it. It kind of happens. Man, if somebody suppresses alpha and they don't disrupt their sleep, sometimes when you compensate with SMR. But my point is, I think these side effects are a little understated. I don't mean they're disastrous or anything, but I need to get to the bottom of it before I feel comfortable sort of treating people that other than, friends and things. Just for me. And that maybe that's perfectionism, because half my friends, they use the first protocol that they're prescribed. Now they're talking to people like Jay and others, and it works right away for them. But the other half, they take that tweaking. So I guess maybe, Radar, you're helping me think about this, but I want to know that I could help do that tweaking with somebody, that tailoring of it. Here's more from Pete's been commenting.
No, that's just Pete's
AI
Pete's J-bot.
Yeah. So Tori is hearing from somebody that based on her QEEG, that she may need 60 to 80 sessions. And at some point I need to buy an amplifier. They said after the Q, you need about 30 to 40. Yeah. So Tori, I'll tell you that 30 to 40 is commonly quoted, and 60 to 80, I still don't think is unrealistic. I still know people that are doing neurofeedback after a couple years and they're still getting progress. So I wouldn't tell you that you don't need that. I guess maybe the bright side would be, I've seen people, when the treatment is appropriate, I've seen them make progress very quickly. So they may notice changes after, I'm going to forget, but there was someone on here saying they noticed benefit. It might have been Josh. There's certain patients with certain phenotypes or patterns that you can feel that getting better within a few sessions. I don't want to guarantee you anything, Tori, by the way. And there's some patterns that they tell you it takes like 10 or it takes 20 to start to feel it. So maybe a way to think of this is you start the process, Tori.
Oh, there he is. Dr. Hill, why are you on that side of the glass? Come on back.
That was awesome. So we have a great practitioner here. Andrew Hill says, who is a good one to talk to, Tori. He says, I often tell people to get about 1 Z-score every 25 to 30 sessions for at least the first 2 Z-scores. So that may help both you and I, Tori, is that he likes to rescan. And then maybe through the process of rescanning, I'm kind of inferring maybe what he means here, Tori, and he can correct me, is that you may not know from the very first scan if it's going to take 60 or 80 or maybe even 30. You may not know that. So thank you, Dr. Hill.
Dr. Hill, and nobody else click on this. I'm going to give him the link to get in there. See if he'll pop in for old time's sake.
That's cool. That's nice of him. Yeah.
Well, we were just selling his product there. I'm sure he heard it, 80% of his business. And
yeah,
I think it was EEG.
So Radar and Jahan are they're asking about what has helped people with sleep other than SMR. I think the SMR, for some people, SMR, and they say it works for like 80% of people. I'm feeling like it works for like 50. My sample size is going to be much smaller than somebody like Dr. Hill, but it works great off the bat for like 50% of people is what it feels like. This is total anecdotal. Other individuals I have seen get sleep improvement as other things get addressed, such as I think it's a little bit hard because they're doing other waves at the same time, but from addressing their alpha and their slow waves, their sleep has anecdotally gotten better. So Dr. Hill says, unfortunately, yeah, so He says C3 beta can help with sleep maintenance. And for some people, guys, only for some people. And then he says CZSMR, C4 SMR also helps 50% as well. So maybe trying those different positions. I know that is, I believe the people that helped innovate that were the authors. I think Dr. Hill has mentioned that too. And so the sensory motor strip has different roles that Dr. Hill talks a lot about. I've heard him talk on his podcast. And I think he says the C3, which is the left side, that's more for sleep maintenance. And the C4 is more for sleep onset. So you could try altering the position. He says CZ and C4 are more, I think, are more for sleep onset. So you could try altering the position potentially, guys. Yeah, Radar saying you have to tweak the SMR. So I'll speak for myself. I've tweaked SMR for myself, and I haven't had it click for me. And I've seen that happen to at least one other individual. But I can keep consulting with people. Let's see. Tori has some more questions.
Dr. Hill came back in.
And Dr. Hill is responding to, so I'll do him first then. He says, yes, this is the arousal model mixed with the laterality model that he used. The left hemisphere runs faster. So C3 beta versus C0 or C4. By faster, he may mean either the frequency is a little faster of SMR, or he may mean that it tends to maybe speed the person up. Maybe he can clarify. I have I'll go to Tori and then I'll go back to Radar. Okay. Tori asks, so should I do another QEEG after 25 to 35 sessions and a third one after how many? I would just reread his comment, Tori, but I think he said he likes to do a second EEG after 25 or 30. 25 or 35. Yes. Wait. Hold
on.
I think that's what he means is do two scans within 25 or 30 sessions. And then Radar asks if I have a hot singlet. I have minor alpha in the singlet, but not too much, not very much. I have a mix of sleep onset and sleep maintenance. I have a mix, and I have tried the C3 versus C4, and it's not clicking for me yet. And I've worked with a clinician; it's not quite clicking yet.
Dr. Hill, you're doing a lot of typing for being on the wrong side of the glass, but we'll take it.
No, we appreciate it. So, yeah, he says left hemisphere may run individual modules hotter and up. So that sounds like a little bit higher frequency. And then for Tori's question, he says Peak Brain, his company remaps every 20 to 30 sessions. So they map 3+ times. So it sounds like they're doing, 60, 80 sessions potentially. Thank you, Dr. Hill. That was very informative.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Don't be a stranger. No. We still love you. He's got a good
podcast as well, guys. And I learn, tons
Mondays.
of stuff on his podcast, or I try to. So, Radar, that's where I'm at, is I'm doing things like I recently tried the alpha down at PZ. And I'm trying the temples, and they're all doing something good, and then they're doing something a little bit off for me, is where I'm at with it. So there's a minority of people that always have issues with sleep. Yeah. And I mentioned sleep. This is why I suggest people track their sleep with an app. The one that I like, it's the one with the most reviews on iTunes. It's called Sleep Cycle. And it's on Android as well, guys. And I swear, it's just happened so much that people tell me I sleep amazing, and then they find out they only sleep 6 hours, or their neurofeedback, they think it's maybe working great or firing on all cylinders, and then they're watching their sleep score and they found their sleep scores gone down from 90s to 80s. And that to me can be, again, I don't have a study on your sleep score and neurofeedback, but I do wonder when I hear that maybe there's some modifications we need. In other words, the sleep score to me is like the canary in the coal mine. So if you can get a sleep app going, I think that can save people trouble, and it can tell when they need tweaks. But this is, again, sort of an anecdotal experience. Let's see here.
Radar's all in your junk today. You need a
Yeah.
nutritional
No,
intervention.
it's cool. I need ideas just like everybody else, or if you have anytime you have a thorny problem. Yeah, he says some people don't need 8 hours of sleep. Yeah, I'll just tell you for me that I'm not getting the quality I want either or whatever. But yes, I'm sensitive to that too. If somebody says, gosh, I haven't seen this, but if somebody said, yeah, neurofeedback reduced my sleep by an hour, but I feel the most refreshed and I'm most productive. Yeah, I'm not going to yell at them or, so to speak. I'm not going to get mad at them. I just haven't seen that usually if they notice their sleep going down from neurofeedback, it starts to get worse. Like if maybe they didn't pick it up immediately on this on their own, but then the sleep app sees it. It says you're down 10% in your sleep. And then they go, well, I'll ignore it. 2 weeks later, it can be down more, I've noticed. So I like to listen to the sleep score. Let's see here. Jahan says, is there some published data on Optum or infraslow training and sleep? Yeah, you should Google it. I believe there is training on infralow and sleep, or data, sorry, studies. I think if you just type in infralow and sleep, it'll come right up, Jahan. I mean, there's all kinds of neurofeedback, I think, that have probably shown some sleep. Even alpha training, I think even like different types of alpha training. I'm not going to recommend it to people just yet, but I saw a study recently. Tori says, once you graduate from the program, meaning once you've finished neurofeedback, does it make sense to do maintenance or go in 1 to 2 weeks a month? Tori, I hear people saying that I've heard clinicians say that some people are fine just stopping indefinitely once they finish. But I've also heard them say that I have patients that like to come in once a month to do maintenance. And, like I said, I know people that have been doing neurofeedback. They're not overkilling it, guys. They're not, just so you know, that the people doing it for years, they're doing a touch up. They're doing a little bit here, a little bit there, but they seem to keep getting benefit. And they're doing their clinician recommended protocols, to be clear, and it's very predictable, their trajectory. So no sudden changes. That makes me feel better too. So Tori, I think the point is, I think it can be a little bit of judgment up to you. That can be whether you continue after your 30 sessions or 40 is that can be up to you and your provider. Let's see here. Yeah, and Jahan Radar says that the primary author protocol that helps sleep is T4P4. So interesting. I'll write that one down. That could be something to be investigate with people.
Well, I'm taking notes here, and I'm going to ask Jay and Dr. Marie and whoever else shows up tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But it seems like this is a sleep episode, or what are we concentrating on here?
Yeah, Jahan was asking about general tips for sleep, and I was kind of commenting on people for whom SMR has not worked for or not quite hit the mark, of which I'm one of them. But again, 50. I mean, I just had a friend start neurofeedback a month ago, and he did. He had the best people look at it. People trained by Jay, and they started him SMR. So the first night he does SMR, he was sleeping better the next day, and it's the same. And he's measuring his sleep, by the way, with an app. It's the same story. I mean, it's a month later, he's sleeping great. So some people, it just the SMR nails it for them. Oh, by the way, last episode we did, Josh Moore said he finds that his younger patients are the ones that have more difficulty with SMR. And one of the things that we theorized on that episode, and Josh agreed, is that potentially younger people already have enough SMR. And so that could indicate, again, talk to your clinician, that could indicate that maybe they need something else for their sleep. Maybe something else is in the way of it. I'll tell you, so people with a lot of alpha synchrony is associated with bad sleep. It prevents the wind down to sleep. So it's very common. Let's see who we got here. We have Jahan again. He says, alpha theta seems to have a lot of effects, including sleep. It might come close to a panacea. Any thoughts? Yeah, so Jahan, I was just talking to a guy on Reddit. Somebody warned them. They said, if you do alpha theta, well, okay, first off, Alex Sanchez, who I love, this clinician who's great. He's worked with Jay and Josh and everyone. He does not like to do alpha theta until the person has had a full course of SMR. And sure enough, that was being discussed. He says if you don't, you may lose sleep or get dissociated from alpha theta. Sure enough, somebody on Reddit the other day told me that they got dissociated from alpha theta. And so I would say, use carefully or do with close supervision, and be tracking your sleep so you can get that early warning. All right, Tori here has a comment. My provider uses Brain Master. Can they see live what's going on with my brain, or is it only when we do another QEG? I think they can actually see live what's going on with your brain to some degree, Tori, at least at the positions you're training, etc. But I think that's a good question. Why can't we do live EEG on some of these positions, Pete? Maybe we could ask somebody like Jay or Josh.
Yeah.
Why can't the clinician tell how your alpha's doing each day, or you whichever position, how you're doing in that position? And maybe some of them do and can. I think maybe it'll take close analysis. Maybe they would really want to look carefully or something, Tori. But yeah, I'm sorry. I would need to ask somebody about that. That's an interesting question. I just do know, and I'm sure there's a reason, they like to rescan. They like to rescan at intervals. So yes. Pete has the answer there for you, Tori.
That's a JBot answer. Take it with a grain of salt.
That's cool.
We're going to deal with it tomorrow.
That's a good one.
It says,
Tori, right now, Tori, the AI is telling us that the provider sees real-time EEG during every session. Raw waves. These are some complex terms, FFT and Z-scores. Not just QEG. QEG is a baseline. Live training is moment to moment. And then it says they can see the amplitude, which is kind of the power or the height of the wave, and coherence and phase. And they can tweak. Yeah, so I think they may use these things to tweak what are called the thresholds, which are like the limit that it has to be at before giving you a reward. And that can make neurofeedback easier or harder. That's kind of a thing that a clinician, that's hard to do. That takes some skill. And last episode, if you want to learn about thresholds, Josh talked a lot about thresholds last Wednesday. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Jahan talked about auto thresholding versus provider. Jahan, I believe last week, Josh Moore said that he's very hesitant about auto threshold, that he thinks the provider needs to be doing it, that can create a big difference for the patient. And so I am not experiencing that. So please
go to last week's show. We talked about
last week's show. Exactly.
And the Thursday show.
Thursday?
Jay Gunkelman brought up Barry Sturman, and I think I put it in the chat here. He brought it up. They're definitely not fans of doing that.
Okay, I took some notes on last show, so maybe, but yeah, that's not a popular. And I've even heard, Jahan, that from Alex, that if a person is having side effects, that he thinks sometimes that maybe not doing auto thresholding is good for them. This is something Josh said last podcast on thresholding. He said, I don't know who this will help, but he said, by not doing auto thresholding, we are less likely to create high beta waves, which are something that generally you don't want to train because it's associated with muscle and tension and anxiety. So yeah, those were good questions. Good luck if you listen to that podcast. Josh Moore said, there is a meta study that shows that auto thresholding is one of the number one reasons for neurofeedback clinical trial failure. So that's pretty cool. So I need to get the name of that study from Josh. So yeah, guys, I wish it was easier, that we could just, at least today, maybe one day we'll be able to tell the machine to do everything once it's trained properly. But I guess.
Don't tell Jay.
Yeah. Radar. Yeah, I have been on the Discord server, and that's nice. I get a little more mileage out of asking on Facebook because, like, just today I asked a question and Josh responded and another clinician responded. So I get a little more mileage from asking on there. Lisa Tartarin, Lisa Tartarin, who spoke at Sassoon, she answered my question today, and she's very. And she uses AI she's training an AI to help her with speaking to clients and explaining the EEG. So there's good people everywhere. Oh, not everywhere, but there's some Discord, yes, I've heard of it. I think Andrew Hill is very, very active in the Discord server, by the way, the Neurofeedback Discord. So there's a good place. There's a few good places.
Oh, Jahan, you want to push? You can push.
Yeah.
Home training would
This
make
would be a
provider.
question for like a Dr. Hill, I think, who does. He's asking, how do providers that are doing at-home training, remote training, how are they addressing the thresholding issue? Jahan, I don't know. It may be something. Maybe they can watch the first. You may know more than I. Maybe they can monitor the first time and see, or reconnect. That's the only thing I know, because I have not done the well, I have done the remote, but we didn't discuss thresholding. So.
Oh, Radar comes to the rescue.
So Radar's got it. So he says Jahan. He says they just set the threshold based on 30 seconds to a minute of data. So that, I mean, in theory, that sounds possible to me, Jahan. So that's cool. But yeah, so good questions today, and
active crew here. Sorry, we are understaffed today, but we got great content that we can bring up in tomorrow's show.
Yeah, if it doesn't get addressed tomorrow, feel free to ask Josh another time. When he's back, or what he's doing for things. Yeah, he says that this is how Pete Van Dusen does it, and so I'm not familiar with him, but it's cool to know that there's providers. Yeah, Jahan says more on sleep. Man, Jahan, I and you. By the way, sorry if this is old hat to you. The first thing with sleep, I tell people is please try to measure it, because I think they find out that I can't tell you how many times people I've met on this show in the questions, and we're talking, and they said, yeah, I thought I slept well, but I realized that my cats wake me up 50 times a night, and my husband wakes me up, and then my kids, and then they find out through trial and error. Sometimes it's really easy. Maybe they don't have the whole complexity. They just put out blackout curtains, was a story I heard. But another time, like a friend of mine's been trying to deal with her husband snoring, and she had to try like 3 different earplugs from Amazon, but she's finally got one that helps, and it's made a big difference. So sometimes it's really not dumb, but simple things you can do. With neurofeedback and sleep, I have a strong feeling that alpha is involved, Jahan, because like I said, so if you have too much alpha coherence, those people tend not to sleep well. Oh yeah. Why have we not? Jahan, there was a study that came out in the past year, and it said that OCD is one of the top reasons for delayed sleep. In fact, it said in this study, it was the main one. And what they found was the patient was ruminating or getting hooked on their phone and ruminating, and they couldn't turn their brain off for a couple reasons. And so to me, what that says is some people, I have seen people's sleep improve immediately from frontal suppression training. So these individuals, they often have what Jay and Josh call the anterior cingulate failure modes. They have alpha, theta, or beta frontally. And when they suppress, usually all 3 of those waves you're suppressing with a window for SMR. You don't suppress the SMR range. Generally, Jay does not. When they do that, I know at least 2 or 3 individuals that got better sleep, deeper sleep immediately, overnight. And to be honest, I get longer sleep from doing that. So that did help a little for me. So there's something, Jahan, if you're looking. Now, again, this has to be based on, ideally, you're doing this to provider. It's based on your EEG. I will say I've seen frontal suppression be, I almost don't see side effects for frontal suppression. So that's one I'm more comfortable talking about. Let's see, Radar says here, when I did HEG, I had the worst insomnia ever. If the cingulate is way too hot, it's hard to drop your arousal and fall asleep. Yeah, so I believe on here, Josh and maybe Dr. Hill have said, if you do HEG, which is blood flow training, it can increase high beta. And high beta is associated with arousal and alertness. And so if you are somehow accidentally triggering with any treatment or training, if you're triggering high beta, that can really interfere with your sleep. Yeah, I'm pretty light on the OCD. I'm kind of the least OCD of my friends. I'm sort of the least neat freak, the least punctual. So that's not my least perseverative. People tell me I need to be more OCD. So here you go. Let's see here, Tori. Tori says, I have a cousin. She's 11 and borderline autistic. Can neurofeedback help? They're in Georgia. What is the first step? So Tori, speaking as a frequent attendee of this podcast, I've heard many stories of people, including children, being helped with their autistic, symptoms. And so I would say there's a great potential. Oh, and studies show, Tori, there's a meta study that showed significant to superior improvement among autistic children uh, uh, for autism using neurofeedback above any other modality. So yes, as to first steps, the general advice I hear Jay say is, if you can,
It's not one thing.
What does he say? Tell me, Pete.
I put it in the chat. I mean, autism isn't one thing, you know?
Yeah, autism is like, so Jay says that autism is like 7 different patterns in the brain, potentially, and you could have one or all of them. And so you want a good provider. I hear people, you want to look for somebody who can read raw EEG. That is sort of like if I had a wish list, that's people like Jay and Josh and Santiago, all these different people that read raw EEG, and that allows them to see nitty gritty what's happening in the brain. The other thing I've heard Jay talk about is if you can get someone, you want someone who is either ISNR or BCIA certified, BCIA, because that is going to ensure that they are skilled at reading that EEG signal. It's not a guarantee, but it does seem to help a lot. So those would be things to tell your friend to look for. Maybe even asking around in some of the online forums about maybe even, does someone know good providers in Georgia? And then once you have that name, you can call them and say, hey, are you BCIA certified? Are you familiar with the Gunkelman phenotype method? I guess I've been beating around the bush because I don't even feel comfortable sending people to people who are not familiar with what's called shorthand called the Gunkelman phenotype method. I honestly, if you can find somebody like that, I would skip everybody else. Even if they promise you the moon, I would go to the guy who knows Jay Gunkelman's methods, because what I like? I've never seen anybody be hurt by those methods. Those are the least likely to produce side effect, Tori. So the methods of Jay Gunkelman, if they're familiar with that, that's a big green flag to me. But you can check all the other stuff I mentioned too. Let's see. Jahan says here.
Last question, we'll split.
No problem. Jahan asks, it's interesting. He says, one more sec. Have you heard of people alternating infraslow and regular amplitude type training? So Jahan, I guess to make this interesting, he's asking about, there's a type of training that trains below 1 hertz called infraslow or infralow. It's training a very particular, and they tend train what's called the glia, which they make the electricity, that they make the metabolic energy in your brain. And then there's people that do what's called amplitude training, which is more like what Jay and Josh tend to do, which is where you're saying, I want to change the power of my alpha waves, which tends to be like a faster frequency. And Jahan, I will say, I have not heard of people like alternating, where they're doing 1 day on, 1 day infraslow and 1 day amplitude. But I have heard of people who've done both, who've comboed. Maybe one didn't. Actually, the most common is maybe amplitude didn't work, so they tried infraslow. And oh, you know who we should ask about that is Josh. There is a type of patient. Let me go look at my notes, but Josh says infraslow works better for a particular type of patient. So maybe that's how you could decide.
I got my note from JBot. ISF sets the tone, amplitude tunes the instrument.
There you go. So maybe, so real quick, I'll address that. Josh Moore says he doesn't like ISF for low voltage fast EEGs. He said that on this podcast. Mark Smith says to use something called ISF2 is the other thing that they said. So that's what I would say. And then as far as the tuning, so Jahan will get this. So one time I asked ISF people on the internet, and I've asked Josh too, and their Facebook group, what does ISF training do to the EEG? And I believe Josh has said that overall it actually may raise amplitudes, and raising amplitudes is not always good. So a theoretical approach, I've not done this, but it's speaking to what Pete said. ISF can set the tone. Maybe ISF is sort of like your baseline intervention. And then you can go in and tweak if you still have, I'm making this up, but you still have high theta or high beta or something. Then maybe you could try your amplitude training to go in there and ratchet that down. That could be totally off. Somebody like Josh could tell you, no, Anthony, trust me, I've tried it. The opposite, it works way better. So ask somebody more experienced, Jahan. But I just wanted you to know that they do very different things to the EG apparently. So, all right, thanks for listening. Sorry if I couldn't be more helpful on some of those guys, but I know Pete can
email Pete at neuronoodle.com if you feel you got shorted, if you didn't get your money's worth.
Yeah.
But thanks, Tori, for showing up. Jahan, Radar, Anthony, every Wednesday, most of the time we're on time. Right, Anthony?
Yeah. Well, thanks for humoring us, and we appreciate your questions, guys. And yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Have a great night. Good mental health, everybody. Peace out.
All right, have a good evening.
Great job.
On sleep, Jay.